Imagine, it's the very first day of your summer vacation.
The best day of the year, usually.
All right, exactly.
Yeah.
The weather is beautiful. You have absolutely zero obligations, and you could be doing like literally anything. You could be relaxing, catching up on sleep, maybe hanging out with friends.
But you're not doing any of that.
Nope. Instead, you lock yourself in your bedroom, you put on your headphones, and you spend 144 minutes obsessively listening to an audio recording.
And just to be clear, this isn't, a recorded lecture for a class or some fun audio
Oh,
book.
definitely not. It is a recording of a person academically deconstructing your worst, most manipulative personality traits.
It's brutal.
It really is. And here is the absolute kicker. They are doing it in a language you barely even understand.
I mean, it's a scenario that sounds completely fictional, right?
Yeah.
Like a setup for some indie psychological thriller. But it is entirely real. It's honestly one of the most fascinating behavioral case studies we've come across in a long time.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are unpacking what is essentially a masterclass in cognitive dissonance.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to explore the psychological collapse of this self-styled manipulator, a guy we are going to call Zhang San, just for the sake of this analysis.
Yeah, we need to look at why he became just utterly trapped by this 18-minute academic audio clip.
And the hilarious, sitcom level irony of how his family reacted to this whole obsession. Plus, we'll get into what actually happens when a person's completely false narrative it just collapses in real time.
So, to understand the sheer weight of what is happening in that bedroom, we really have to lay out the facts of what Zhang San is actually listening to here.
Right, set the scene for us.
So recently, Zhang San received a severe disciplinary warning from his university. And the audio he is now just obsessively playing on a loop is this 18-minute C1 level English interview created by an analyst.
And this analyst, she happens to be a woman he had previously targeted with his, manipulative behaviors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she doesn't just call him a jerk or a bad guy.
No, she clinically dissects him.
She essentially opens up his hood and takes apart his engine piece by piece. She uses Foucault-style power structures, gender studies, and the sociological concept of sexual scripts to just cold read his entire operating system.
It's intense. Let's actually pause there for a second because I want to make sure we don't just gloss over those terms for everyone listening.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
When you say she uses Foucault-style power structures to take him apart, what does that actually look like in a modern dating scenario? I mean, how does a guy like Zhang San execute a sexual script?
Well, so Michel Foucault's theories often revolve around surveillance, power, and how institutions control individuals. You know the concept of the panopticon.
The prison where the inmates always feel like they're being watched?
Exactly. So they end up policing their own behavior. The analyst actually applies this to Zhang San's dating life. She explains that he doesn't use, overt aggression.
Right, he's more subtle.
Very subtle. He uses surveillance and psychological framing to make his targets feel like they are constantly failing his expectations. That is his sexual script. It's this predetermined role he forces women into.
Oh, okay. And the artificial submission part of the audio is how he sets the trap, right?
Precisely.
It's like a guy who plays the victim or acts incredibly vulnerable early on just to create this weird sense of debt. He acts submissive, getting the woman to lean in and try to fix him or care for him.
And once she is emotionally invested,
he flips the dynamic and takes total control. He is essentially hacking her empathy.
That is a perfect way to describe it. He relies on her empathy to build his power base. And the analyst exposes this entirely. She breaks down the body memory aspect too.
Oh, that part was wild.
It really is. She explains how he conditions his targets through unpredictable reinforcement. Sometimes he is incredibly warm and other times he is just ice cold and distant.
Which creates a physiological anxiety in the target.
Yes. Their actual bodies begin to crave his validation just to soothe their nervous system. And she isn't even insulting him, really. She's describing him as a biological mechanism.
Which brings us to the massive glaring gap between his actual abilities and the material he's trying to consume right now in his bedroom.
Right, the language barrier.
Exactly. According to the sources, Zhang San scored just over a 500 on his CET6 English exam.
Which, for those who don't know, that puts him at about a B2 level of English proficiency.
Yeah. And a B2 level means you can handle a TED Talk, you can read general news articles, maybe get the gist of an opinion piece in The Economist, you can easily manage daily conversations abroad.
But a B2 level absolutely does not equip you to process an unsubtitled, native speed academic framework discussing abstract concepts like subjectivity, objectification, and systemic logic.
Not at all.
He is listening to what is essentially a master's level sociology thesis delivered at conversational speed.
It makes me think of trying to run next generation 3D rendering software on a 15-year-old laptop.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
The hardware is literally screaming. The fans are whirring. The laptop is overheating, but the system just keeps crashing because it physically cannot process the data. He is trying to render this high level sociological critique, but he simply does not have the vocabulary processor to do it.
So what he experiences is basically auditory fragmentation. He hits play on this 18-minute audio, and he only catches isolated keywords.
Like he hears the word power.
Right. He hears control, he hears woman, desire, relationship. But the connective tissue, the complex structural critique linking those words, is completely lost on him.
He is getting the nouns, but completely missing the verbs and the underlying syntax of his own destruction.
Exactly. And yet he listened to it 8 times in a single day.
8 times. 8 times 18 minutes is 144 minutes. I mean, if the software keeps crashing, why does he keep hitting replay? Like, if you've ever obsessively reread a critical text message from your boss trying to figure out if they're mad at you, you've experienced a tiny fraction of what Zhang Sen is going through here. But to subject yourself to over 2 hours of academic humiliation in a language you can barely parse, why put yourself through that?
Because he is in the grips of severe cognitive dissonance. He's frantically searching for a logical loophole.
A loophole in her argument.
Yes, because in his internal narrative, he is the mastermind. He is the subject, the hunter, the one who is always in control of the dynamic and pulling the strings.
And this audio threatens all of that.
Completely. It strips away his self-perceived complexity and reduces him to a predictable mechanical script executor. He's just a bug in a jar doing exactly what the textbook says a bug will do.
Wow. And he just cannot handle being reduced to a predictable system.
Yeah.
He wants to believe his manipulations are unique and brilliant, not something that can just be, charted on a sociologist's whiteboard.
So he hits replay again and again because he is trying to decode her tone. He is desperate to find a flaw, a contradiction, a moment where her voice shakes or sounds upset.
Oh, because he wants to prove that she is just an angry, emotional person.
Right. If she is emotional, he wins. But if she is clinical and objective, he is just a basic, easily readable program.
The ultimate irony here, though, is that by listening to it 8 times, he's actually trapping himself in her world.
I mean,
Well, he thinks he's looking for a loophole, but he is unconsciously adopting her vocabulary to define himself. He is starting to think about his own actions in terms of power, subjectivity, and systems.
oh, that's such a good point.
He's trying to hack her framework, but her framework is fundamentally rewriting his brain.
He is internalizing the very panopticon we talked about earlier. She doesn't even need to be in the room anymore. He has built the guard tower inside his own mind and is now policing himself using her academic terminology.
And the craziest part is that this mental rewiring is happening in plain sight of the 2 people who fundamentally misunderstand him the most.
His parents. His parents. While this intense psychological warfare is raging inside his headphones, the physical reality outside his bedroom door is just, it creates a scene of pure accidental black comedy.
We really have to consider the environment he retreated to here. Zhang San's parents are rural primary school teachers. In their worldview, English proficiency is the ultimate equalizer.
Right, it represents upward mobility, intelligence, the key to a secure future.
Exactly. So picture the setup. He just got a severe disciplinary warning from his university. For rural educators, that must be a devastating blow.
They're probably worried sick about his trajectory.
And then, on the very first day of summer vacation, they peek into his bedroom. They see their son sitting at his desk wearing headphones, intensely focused on an advanced English audio track, hour after hour.
They must think they're witnessing a miraculous turnaround.
Oh, they definitely do. To them, he is an incredibly motivated son who has seen the error of his ways. They think he's trying to salvage his academic career through sheer discipline. They are probably bringing him snacks, exchanging these proud, relieved looks in the hallway, whispering about how hard he is working to redeem himself.
Meanwhile, the psychological concept of cognitive tearing he's experiencing is just staggering.
Think about what a human brain has to process in that exact moment. You are receiving unearned praise for something that is secretly causing you immense internal shame.
It's a total short circuit.
He is sitting there experiencing the ultimate humiliation, being intellectually dismantled, and enduring grueling self punishment because he is terrified of what this analyst has exposed.
Simultaneously bathed in the beaming, proud affection of his parents.
Yes. His brain is getting hits of dopamine from their praise and massive spikes of cortisol from the audio at the exact same time.
The paralysis he experiences is absolute. I mean, he cannot correct them without revealing the dark reality of the audio.
Right. If he tells his mother, I'm not studying, she will inevitably ask what he is listening to so intently.
And he would have to explain that he is listening to a woman dissect his history of emotional manipulation, the very behavior that led to his disciplinary warning in the first place.
So he's just trapped in a glass jar of his own making. Every time his parents praise his hard work, it acts as this sarcastic, cosmic reinforcement of his total powerlessness.
He is at the absolute bottom of the power dynamic, completely stripped of his agency.
And his parents are literally applauding his suffering, mistaking his psychological torture for academic rigor.
But this situational comedy pivots into something much darker when we look at how this audio fundamentally rewrites his romantic and biological priorities for that evening.
Yes, the behavioral economics of this whole thing is fascinating. According to the sources, on this exact night, Zhang San was scheduled to have a naked video chat with a woman we'll refer to as 045.
They were just physically together the day before.
Exactly. The video chat was supposed to be the continuation of that dynamic, like a guaranteed way for him to maintain his control over her and secure some easy gratification.
That was the original plan. But instead of logging on with Euro 45, he spends the night doing 144 minutes of grueling cognitive labor,
Yeah.
listening to the analyst.
Hold on, because this is where I get lost. If this guy's whole identity is built around using women for quick physical gratification and boosting his own ego, why is he blowing off a guaranteed naked video chat with 045?
It's a great question.
It defies everything we know about how a manipulator operates. Like, why torture yourself with a lecture from someone who clearly despises you when you have a willing target waiting?
Because it reveals a massive shift in his internal priority system. Under normal circumstances, his behavioral economics dictate that immediate sexual gratification and maintaining dominance are his highest currency.
Right.
But the analyst introduced a catastrophic threat to his ego identity. Fear and the desperate need for cognitive survival have completely overwritten his biological drives.
So Maslow's hierarchy of needs has basically been flipped upside down for him.
Temporarily, yes. He is making a behavioral economics trade. The cost of losing his ego identity is so high that his brain completely shuts off his libido.
The 045 video chat just loses all its value because it doesn't solve his immediate existential crisis.
Exactly. Being admired by 045 doesn't prove the analyst wrong.
Wow. So the analyst's framework has completely reprogrammed his desires. The immediate gratification 045 offers is totally useless against the intellectual threat the analyst poses.
He needs to know if his entire personality is a transparent fraud. He needs to find a way to regain his subjecthood. So 045 just gets demoted to a pending status.
He likely just blew her off with a vague excuse, leaving her totally in the dark. She probably thinks he's just tired from traveling home, completely unaware that she just lost a competition for his attention to a C1 level academic English lecture.
Which proves a terrifying reality for Zhang San. Think about it. The analyst, who is completely absent and wants absolutely nothing to do with him, has infinitely more influence over his behavior and his night than 045 does, who is fully available and willing.
The empty space the analyst left behind is taking up more room in his head than a real physical person.
Exactly.
So what does a guy whose entire ego is built on being the one in control do when he realizes he's been completely outsmarted and reprogrammed by someone who isn't even in the room?
Well, he lies.
Right. He has to create a fictional storyline to explain this obsession to the outside world, and that storyline is currently blowing up in his face.
Because Zhang San cannot integrate the reality of being outmaneuvered into his self-image, he reaches for the only narrative he thinks he can control.
Which is?
To explain his erratic behavior and obsession to his parents, his buddy who knows his history, and even to himself, he labels the analyst as his crazy ex-girlfriend.
Oh, of course. She's just obsessed with me. She can't let me go. She's making these audios because she's heartbroken. It's the classic scorned lover interface.
Yep.
I think back to the tech analogy. Zhang San is standing there, holding a USB cable, and he is frantically trying to plug it into a completely blank wall.
He is desperate to find a port to connect to.
Exactly. In his worldview, his operating system only has one interface for a woman who is paying this much attention to him and criticizing him, the scorned lover.
Because if she is a scorned lover, he understands the rules. He can dismiss her critique as purely emotional.
But there is a massive structural flaw in his narrative, right?
Huge one. They never dated, they were never in a relationship.
Right. And to make matters worse, the analyst publicly denied being his ex girlfriend. His undergraduate classmates, his primary social circle, already know this.
They know she denied it, and they know he is lying to cover his tracks.
When she denies being the ex girlfriend, it's basically a 404 error for his brain. The interface isn't just blank, the server is actively rejecting his connection.
It really is.
What happens to a manipulator when they are entirely denied a category to place their target in?
It results in a total system failure. By refusing the ex-girlfriend label, the analyst returns a null value to his system. She is broadcasting to him and to the world, I am not participating in your sexual script. I am outside of it, observing it.
Oh, wow. And by returning that null value, she becomes immune to his manipulation.
Exactly. He cannot dismiss her as a crazy ex, which means he is forced to face the terrifying possibility that her critique is objective, clinical, and accurate.
And while he's short circuiting over this 404 error, his real world social life is just collapsing around him.
Yeah.
His credibility is fracturing on multiple fronts.
His undergraduate classmates know he is lying to make himself look like the victim. He is rapidly becoming an isolated island of lies.
And the cognitive energy required to maintain that island of lies must be exhausting. He has to sustain completely different versions of reality for different audiences.
He has the diligent, reformed student reality for his parents.
He has the annoyed by my crazy ex reality for his buddy.
He has whatever holding pattern excuse he gave to 045.
And he has the fractured, untrusted reality with his university classmates.
All while secretly, internally, knowing the absolute truth, he has been thoroughly, humiliatingly seen through.
The mental gymnastics required to keep those plates spinning, especially while lacking the vocabulary to even understand the critique against him, it's staggering.
That is the ultimate tragedy of Zhang San's deep dive into that audio file.
Yeah.
His entire goal in listening to it 8 times was to prove his own complexity.
Right.
He wanted to prove he was in control, that he wasn't just a predictable script executor following basic sociological patterns.
But the sheer obsessive, desperate nature of his behavior, I mean, locking himself in his room, lying to his friends, abandoning his usual desires for physical intimacy, and sweating over a language he barely understands, it just proved her thesis flawlessly.
He acted exactly how her system predicted a threatened manipulator would act when their power structure is dismantled.
He built the bars to his own cell, and he used her academic vocabulary to do it.
By desperately trying to escape the jar she put him in, he only highlighted the glass walls. The harder he pushed against the analysis, the more accurate the analysis became.
It leaves you, the listener, with a really lingering question. Zhang San had to invent a completely fake relationship. He had to call a stranger his crazy ex and risk his entire social credibility just to protect his fragile ego from a purely intellectual critique.
It's a lot of effort for an ego.
It really makes you wonder, how often do we mislabel people in our own lives as crazy or obsessed or haters simply because they have accurately identified the very flaws we are most desperate to hide?
It's definitely something to think about.
Maybe the next time you find yourself entirely consumed by what someone else thinks of you, on the first beautiful day of summer vacation, you should take a step back and ask yourself whose script you were really following. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.